Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be here. It is February 1st. If you're new here, I'm Bethany. I'm an opera singer who has fallen for MLMs and scams, and now I'm here to expose them all to you. So if you like that kind of content, please hit the subscribe button. I am so happy and so delighted with so many comments that have come in this week. You've all been so encouraging to me. And I will admit something that I never admitted when I was in an MLM. I don't know what I'm doing. And thank you so much for consuming my content. Thank you so much for your lovely and supportive comments. And today, I am doing some content inspired by one of your comments. So, someone told me that I look like and maybe kind of have similar vibes to this manifestation girly. So, apparently, she is my evil twin that's into manifestation. So, let's get her stuff up here. Oh, today we are going to react to Haley Hoffman Smith. And one of you guys said that I look like her and I kind of remind you of her. And that's a huge compliment. I mean, not her content, but she's really cute. So thank you so much for saying that. But let's get right into it. Haley Hoffman Smith. First of all, we're going to look at this TikTok of hers or Instagram reel because I'm a millennial. So I went to her Instagram and let's just take a look at this. So it says, if you're not looking at the screen, it says, my old vision board pics versus what I manifested.
Apple bottom, make them want to bite.
I turned off the sound because, okay, so she had a vision board picture of a luxury apartment. And then she has a picture of her apartment that she's in right now. And I just want to say, like, you, a lot of times, like, these photos, and I'm not saying she doesn't live in a luxury apartment, but sometimes those photos can be deceiving because sometimes new construction, new build apartments that look really luxurious are actually not very well made and actually can sometimes, depending on their location. So I live in Chicago and I actually have an apartment that looks kind of bougie, but because I'm not in a super trendy neighborhood, it's actually really affordable. So it just depends on where you're located. And then sometimes the apartments that look really new and shiny are actually like not very quality and they're really cheap and fall apart. So then she has a Forbes, and then she has her on the cover of Forbes. Vision board car interior, and then her car interior. Another apartment vision board pic, and her a similar look. Okay, this part, dream vacation vision board view. That's really beautiful. That's like a really beautiful place. Going to Europe to a town like that is actually pretty achievable. And I want to be clear that some of the points that I'm going to make about some of these manifestations and vision board realizations are from a place of having a stable job and being like solidly middle class. So they are, I know I have like a certain amount of privilege and I will admit it, unlike these manifestation girlies. But so when I say like these things are really achievable, I'm not talking about systemic poverty or, really, really like serious financial struggles. I'm talking about kind of like your average middle class American. So I just want to clarify that. I'm kind of an average middle class American with an average middle class income. And you can take your vacation days and buy a plane ticket to Italy and stay in an Airbnb, and you'll see that. Or Spain, and any number of places in Europe are going to look like that. And even less expensive places like Croatia or some Eastern European countries that aren't as popular, aren't as like well known, you can Google, like budget vacation spots or lesser known vacation spots, and you can find something exactly like this. So it is achievable for the average American, and that's not that's not that big a deal. This whole reel where she showed things that were on her vision board that she supposedly manifested, it's all just flash. Because how, how did you do it? That is my question. How? Because it's not just through vibes. I can lay out things that have been on my vision boards. I've created vision boards. I think they're fun. These days, since I don't believe in this kind of bull crap, I make a vision board just to kind of because it's pretty and it's fun. And I have realized that you can more easily achieve some of the things on your vision board than you realize. So I had a picture, like just this really beautiful professional picture of someone in the Blue Lagoon on my vision board. And I thought I manifested it because my friend, who's a fellow musician who was living in Europe, she sent me a message and she was like, "Hey, do you want to meet me in Iceland? They're having really cheap flights right now. We can have a girls' trip." So we met in Iceland and we got Airbnbs in several locations in Iceland, and we drove like the whole southern coast up to a certain point. We didn't do the whole ring, but we drove there and then we drove back. We had like a 5-day girls' trip, and the flights were really cheap to Iceland. The food there is more expensive, but the Airbnbs were not that expensive. And we went in a shoulder season. So we went in October. So it wasn't, summer is actually super, super popular. That's when it's daylight all around the clock and everything's really green and it's really pretty. But we went during a shoulder season. So we still got some cold weather, and we went into the hot springs and the lagoons. We went to more than one lagoon because there are a lot and they're awesome. And most of the attractions are free or relatively cheap because they are just outdoors. You're going to see the whole Golden Circle. Everything you see on the Golden Circle is free because it's just nature. So it's actually, and that's Europe, and it's actually not that expensive of a trip to do. So I was like, oh, I manifested this thing on my vision board, but I really just took 5 vacation days. And at the time I was in an MLM, so I wasn't getting paid for them. I could do that same trip again now that I have a 9 to 5, and it would just be normal. It would just be taking 5, 6 days of vacation days and buying a ticket, booking the Airbnbs. Obviously, I split with a friend, so that made it cheaper. These things are really achievable. There are also so many things that I put on my vision board that for years I was in this personal development space, I was in this manifestation space, and they never came to fruition. I never sang on stage at the Met. There are so many things on my vision boards that didn't manifest, and so many things that did, and it's just living life. There was no secret sauce. There was no, magic to it. And how she manifested these things, is that she's selling the idea of manifestation. So you just scammed people into getting rich. This is another Catherine Zinkina.
Something that really keeps me up at night is that whole quote about how there are people who are less talented than you are, but they are succeeding more because they have the confidence to go after it. Like they have the audacity to put themselves out there and go after it. And I know it's so hard and so scary if you have not historically been a confident person or a confident person in like one area and you want to put yourself out there and you want to try. But just remember, there are people who are less talented. I don't know why I feel mean saying that, but who are less talented, who are getting further because they're like, yeah, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to try.
Okay. The first thing I want to say about this is this can be true. And this is one area where I feel like the manifestation world can actually benefit. It's kind of the only area is if it gives you the confidence to pursue something you might not have otherwise pursued. I think that that is a good thing. I do think a lot of people just don't even try because it seems too far out of reach. And a lot of people maybe don't see opportunities in front of them because they're not looking for them. That is another thing they talk about in manifestation, that once you believe it's possible for you, you'll start seeing opportunities. And I think there is some truth to that because our brains will focus on what we tell them to. It's like when I was shopping for a car and I bought a Prius, and then suddenly I'm like, wow, this city is lousy with Priuses. There are Priuses everywhere in Chicago. And yeah, I didn't notice them before because I wasn't looking for them. And they will use that example. And it is to a certain extent true. And yes, there are less talented people than you who are doing the thing you want to be doing. But let's not discount that a lot of them are Nepo babies. Whether that's a Hollywood Nepo baby, the most visible kind, or a legacy admission to an Ivy League university, or just someone whose dad worked at this Fortune 500 company, so they get to work at this Fortune 500 company too, or someone who has generational wealth, so they can take unpaid internships that will then give them a leg up. There are issues like generational wealth and generational poverty, systemic wealth and systemic poverty that materially impact people's ability to even put themselves out there. It's not just a matter of confidence. It is so ridiculous to think that even someone like me with a 9-to-5 job who is materially comfortable, because I have a 9-to-5 job, I can't take every single audition that comes around. And yet there are people less talented than me succeeding in opera and musical theater because they had parents with money who supported them, or they had a spouse that was financially able to support them. There are people with the right connections, and there are people with financial stability, and it's not just a matter of confidence. So, yes, on the one hand, have the confidence, put yourself out there. You can't get it if you don't even try. But at the same time, you can't put yourself out there to the extent that you might want to, or maybe at all, if you're working 3 jobs to just barely make the rent, because we live in a society where wages have not kept up with inflation, where being poor comes with extra charges, and it's really hard to get out of poverty because poverty is very expensive. And you don't know that. Like, you clearly don't know that. Like, I'm sorry, this lady.
You're gonna find your people as you put yourself out there, okay? I just want to reassure you of that. Something that's helped me more than anything with this is EFT tapping, because there's always some funky belief, probably from like middle school or high school, where you just didn't feel like you fit in. You didn't feel like you were enough. And it's done a number on your confidence, and you've carried that with you for like the rest of your life. Literally, story of my life. But as we heal those memories and we heal that self-concept, it feels safer.
Again, it's just your limiting beliefs from middle school or high school. I don't know her whole story, but just that sentence is giving somebody made fun of me in middle school. Somebody bullied me in middle school. I wasn't the cool kid. Okay, we were all awkward in middle school, you guys. We were all awkward. We all went through our awkward phase. That's why we call it our awkward phase. Everyone got made fun of at some point, and that is first world problems. That is privileged problems. What if you in middle school, as soon as you were legally able to work, had to get a job to help your parents pay rent because you were born into generational poverty? That is different. That is different from being made fun of. I was made fun of in middle school because I was a late bloomer and I did not develop. So I got the nickname Mosquito Bites. It was very painful. And now I'm like, whatever. Middle schoolers are mean, but it doesn't follow me into adulthood. It doesn't impede my ability to be confident in myself or to put myself out there for auditions because my body got made fun of in middle school. Everyone's body, especially if you are a female presenting person and you were female presenting in middle school, if you had the opposite end of the spectrum, if you developed early, you also got made fun of. Like the body shame for women in girls in middle school is fierce. But that is not something that is preventing us from making money in adulthood. It's just, she's showing her privilege here.
To start to show up and be brave and put ourselves out there, because those who are confident, those who have the audacity to go out and happen to things are the people who make their dreams come true. And that's what you deserve.
Those who have the audacity to happen to things versus having things happen to them. Again, we get the plagiarism of these manifestation girlies. They plagiarize like it is their job. They have no original ideas. Nothing that she's saying is anything that I have not heard before from every manifestation teacher ever. They all just plagiarize the same stuff. But yeah, sure, be proactive. But again, if you are born into really difficult circumstances, if you're in survival mode, you have no choice but to be reactive. You have to survive. And that is a real thing for so many people. And it's just ridiculous. Also, do you like my earrings? They are, if you can't see, they are like a cat, like hanging from, like a cat reaching up to play. And I got them in Venice when I went on my trip in the fall. And they're like the glass from Murano. And when I saw them, I was like, they had a few different colors, but of course I had to get white for Dove. So she's my Valentine. This is my Valentine's look, you guys. Okay.
I dare you to multiply your goals by 100. I dare you to think about what you would achieve in the next decade if everything went according to best case scenario, and shrink down that timeline to the next 6 months. I dare you to think bigger than you have ever thought about your dreams, your aspirations, your goals, so big that it kind of scares you deep in your gut, but you know that fear is actually just excitement. It's literally you like vibrating at the energy of sheer potential. How does that feel to you? Don't you think that would rock your freaking world? Imagine.
This is proof that she has, like Catherine Zankina, has never done any type of goal or achievement or skill that actually takes time to develop. There are things that just take time. And this is one of my biggest beefs with the recent, and by recent, I mean the last 10, 15 years, Hollywood movie musicals where they cast a big name and they give that person like 6 months of voice lessons. Your voice develops. You would never, also, side rant, you would never hire someone to play a professional cellist and give them 6 months of cello lessons and expect them to play like a Bach concerto. But they do this with singers all the time, which they do this with the voice, which just irritates me because the voice is constantly seen as like not an instrument, and it is an instrument. It's an instrument just like the cello, the flute, the violin, the anything, okay? And 6 months of voice lessons is not going to make you good enough to sing Stephen Sondheim. Like, that requires technique. And I could not believe when I went to the theaters and I watched the live action Beauty and the Beast, Emma Watson was so auto-tuned, she sounded like T-Pain. She's not, and those Disney movies, those Renaissance Disney movies, you need good vocal technique to sing. You need legit vocal technique. It's not a pop song. It's not an easy range. When you listen to the 1991 voices that sang Beauty and the Beast, they sound so gorgeous, and you have no idea who any of these people are because they were Broadway people. And you listen to the 1991, and Ewan McGregor can sing, Emma Thompson can sing, obviously Audra McDonald can sing. She's the best singer in the whole thing. But to make the sound design match, they auto-tuned everyone so nobody sounds good. It's just terrible. And just do the 1991 Beauty and the Beast or go see it on Broadway. Apparently there's a new version and they're making Belle more dorky, which I am a fan of because I am a dork. So anyway, that was a side tangent, but things take longer than 6 months. 10-year goals take longer than 6 months. That is just a fact. There are certain skills and weigh in the comments in various disciplines, what these are, because I can speak to the voice, and you need years of training to be able to sing opera. You need years of training to be able to sing legit musical theater, especially something like Sondheim, which is very difficult. You need training to fully master something. And in every discipline, this is true. It's just, and I have to talk about the three biggest things that these manifestation teachers will try to sell you on. And one of them is money. So it's money, your body, like weight loss, and love, relationship, like finding your person. I hate that phrase, by the way. Like, I want to find my person. Oh my gosh, I hate it so much. So these three things are not things that should happen in 6 months or that you should expect to happen in 6 months. Growing your money, getting out of a bad financial situation, it might take you years to pay off credit card debt, to build your savings to 3 months of your take-home pay, to invest, all of these things, and to acquire the skills necessary to move up in your field and to get paid more. They're just like, it's not through high vibes that you can increase your wealth. Secondly, the body stuff. I mean, she clearly has lip fillers. I wouldn't be surprised if she's doing Botox. It's hard to tell because she's got a filter on, which is totally fine, but because she's not selling anti-aging like Elise was. But I think her lips look great. This is making me want to go out and get a syringe of lip filler. I've never done it, but I kind of want to now. The body stuff is so complicated, and maybe you can get to your dream body in 6 months, or maybe you can't. If you can, it might not be in a healthy way. If you want to do it in a healthy way, it will probably take longer than 6 months, depending on what you're trying to achieve. For a lot of people, it's weight loss. But as someone who used to be in a multi-level marketing company that was focused on bodies, it literally beach body, I found that I could not achieve my dream body. I literally got to a certain point, and if I wanted to get more shredded or get more fat off my body, I had to carb cycle. I had to give up carbs. I had to do things that made me a really miserable person, and it just wasn't worth it for me. And there are certain things about your body that you will never be able to change. Your frame, how your muscle develops, where your fat is distributed on your body. Everyone has a different setup for that. And then your face, like a lot of these manifestation girlies have lashes, Botox, filler, hair extensions. It doesn't look like she has hair extensions, but a lot of them have these things that go along with more of the money category, but you're not going to manifest a change to your face. Like you're gonna have to pay for that. So I guess that goes along with the money. And then the love thing is like, if you're like, I'm gonna find the love of my life in the next 6 months, that is a recipe for disaster. Because what if you get to June and you're like, oh, I haven't found the love of my life yet? You're more apt to rush into something that's unhealthy. And we all know abusers and narcissists are incredibly charming at first, and they don't show their red flags. They don't show the more sinister aspects of their character until they already feel like they have you somehow locked down in the relationship, or you're already like deeper in than you thought. And it's just not a good idea to rush into a relationship. So none of these things are a good idea to rush into. And she's clearly just trying to sell her stuff, because a lot of these manifestation people are like, well, I'll put you on the fast track to getting everything you want. And they'll share their stories like, oh, I made $15,000 last year and $600,000 the year after. But they did it selling manifestation courses. And again, what works for one person is not going to work for every person. And they are scamming you. So anyone that promises like a cheat code, a fast track to something, is probably selling you something, and it's probably going to be unhealthy, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally. And it's going to ruin you. The other thing that I want to say is 10xing, 100xing your vision for yourself often makes you go for things. It's good to go for things you might not have originally gone for, that you might not have believed that you could go for. Sure, it is good to stretch yourself and challenge yourself and go for something at a higher level. However, when you're in these manifestation courses and they're teaching you things like this, when you don't get that thing, you self-flagellate and you beat yourself up about it, and you feel like there's something wrong with your spirit, with your mind, and with you fundamentally, because it's all about, you didn't get it because you weren't like vibrating at that frequency. You weren't aligned with it. You must still have some limiting beliefs to get over. I can't tell you, this is going to sound so dumb and obvious. I can't tell you how liberating it was for me in the last couple years that I've been deprogramming this, as I've gone to auditions, to just allow normal facts to be facts. Like, a lot of companies will cast someone they've worked with before because they know, like, and trust that person, and they know they can get the job done. And that's normal in any industry. And I have been transitioning from opera to musical theater. So of course I can expect more rejection, because none of these people know me yet. And what I show them in the audition room is all they know about me. And they might have someone else who has my same skill set, or like she says, is even less talented, but they know that person and they like that person. And that's fine. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's unfair. I'm just saying like, that's the way it works. And knowing people is important in any industry. But just allowing that to be like, oh, I can expect more rejection, and that's fine. And I'm not taking it personally. Allowing that to exist and not being like, oh, I manifested the rejection because I was worried this thought entered my head that they might not cast me because they don't know me. Now I have to immediately expel that thought. I have to do breath work. I have to get rid of this limiting belief. And it's like, no, it's just a fact of life. These people try to get you to deny reality, and then you have this cognitive dissonance and you're like freaking out in your own brain because you're having very normal thoughts. It's wild. It's much healthier as a human pursuing your career to acknowledge limitations, to acknowledge the things that might be working against you. It actually helps you depersonalize it. And when rejection inevitably comes, as it does for all of us, you can just be like, that's fine. It could be one of these reasons. And ultimately, sometimes we'll never know why, but it keeps you on an even keel, and the rejection doesn't hurt as much when it comes, because it's just like, on to the next. I might not have been the right fit for that role. That company might just not like what I have to offer as a singer and an actress, or maybe just not for that show. And maybe they loved me and they have me in mind for a future show. These are all healthy things to think when you are putting yourself out there, especially for the arts, but I'm sure they can apply to any industry. Much healthier than what she's selling.
Meditating and visualizing that every single day. Imagine changing how you show up because you're going for 100x your goal, not just the goal anymore. If you're not excited by your goal anymore, if you can't feel the magic of it anymore, it's time to dream bigger. And this is your sign, so go.
You do not get to tell me it's my sign, lady on Instagram, random lady on Instagram. Dreaming that big and meditating on it, what she's advocating for is becoming obsessive. in an unhealthy way. And we saw this if you watch the Twin Flames documentary on Netflix. A lot of this manifestation stuff overlaps with the Twin Flames stuff. Like you can get fixated on a person, and that relationship might be really unhealthy because you've decided that's your twin flame. This can extend to everything in life. You can get fixated on, performing at a certain level like I did. I did this type of stuff. Like I visualized playing Christine in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway and like putting on the wig. I visualized all the stuff all the time and meditated on it. And that was a huge like 100x goal because I have not even approached Broadway, which is fine. But the odds are like people who are doing that have worked their way up through other things. It's not normal. What she's advocating for is not normal or achievable. It's a little bit ridiculous and it's going to leave you feeling like a failure. Whereas if you do set more achievable goals, if you do set smaller dreams, you can achieve them and then it builds in confidence and you feel like you can go for the next level up. You're far more likely to get to that highest level if you set goals that are lower. Like that's how it works when you're not scamming people. Also, before we go on to the next one, what is with her piano music in the background? Music is one of the top emotionally manipulative forces that we have in the world, and she is like playing this epic piano music in the background, and it's just like, dear Lordy, I can't with this chick. Even though she's my twin, my manifestation twin. Okay, some of y'all have talked about the law of assumption. So she has a reel on the law of assumption, which is, I guess, the same as attraction. I don't know. But we are going to, we're going to watch this about the law of assumption because I don't know about it.
The most important parts of the law of assumption is that even if it seems like something is not working out, you just trust, you know what, this is just an appearance of it not working out. That does not mean it's actually not working out. You stay in the emotion, it's gonna work out, and everything you see that's the opposite of that, you're like, we'll see about that. Because as Abraham Hicks says, that not working out was part of everything working out for you.
Don't say amen. Okay. Again, manifestation is a religion for sure. This is so unhealthy. If you are in a relationship and it is not working out, end the relationship. I mean, obviously that depends on every situation. Some things can be worked through, some things can't. This is a beef that I have with our society. Sticking it out is not always right. Sometimes you have to know when to cut your losses. Sometimes divorce is the healthiest thing for a relationship. Sometimes breaking up is the healthiest thing. Sometimes quitting that job is the healthiest thing and moving on to a new job. Sometimes quitting is the answer, and sometimes quitting will lead you to something much better. So gripping and hanging on to something that's not working for you because the universe is going to make it eventually work out and deluding yourself into believing that it will is how you stay in unhealthy relationships, toxic workplaces, and in MLMs, which is another reason I consider this MLM adjacent because they feed into each other. And a lot of people who are in MLMs consume this content as personal development, and it convinces them to stay in the MLM where they're losing money and just believing that if they stay in, they're going to be living that $8 million Amy Mashburn life if they just stick it out and if they just stay in the energy of picturing themselves in the fancy car, on the fancy vacation, all those vision board things she said earlier. It is unhealthy and it's bad. So law of assumption seems terrible to me. This is the last reel we have from her, and we're going to end with a bang because this one made me maybe the most angry. So
just know it's because it is not a step-by-step process. It is more like a recipe, like you are baking a manifestation pie, which means there are ingredients that you need, there are processes that you need, and then there's also a little bit of waiting, i.e. when the pie is in the oven. A few of these processes and ingredients, and number one is your vibration. This is where people say, like, keep your vibe high, stay happy, stay positive.
if we ever get to the point where I have enough subscribers where I can do a live and there will be people on it, let's do a live, and we should find some kind of sound effect or some kind of, like, every time they say vibration, we'll like stop and we'll all vibrate. We're like, I don't know. So if you have an idea for like a meme or a sound effect, like send it to me, because anyway.
And that all sounds cute, of course, until life kicks in and we're feeling frustrated about things, which is completely normal. I, for one, would definitely not have a high vibration, like maybe any of the time, if it wasn't for EFT tapping, because it absolutely just like dissolves any feelings of stress or resistance.
So this is another thing that I didn't mention when she brought it up earlier, but EFT tapping. So it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And if you're unfamiliar with it, you tap on these different meridians, like this part of your thumb and your wrist, and then I think it's like your collarbone, and like your temple and the top of your head. Let me know if I missed it. Maybe your chin and like right below your nose, like on the upper lip part. You like tap these things and you say limiting belief at first. And then you say like the new belief. So you say like, even though I don't feel worthy, I am worthy of infinite wealth or something. Even though it seems impossible, I can be a millionaire tomorrow. These are just some examples, but it's just a bullshitty thing that makes you feel like you've done something to change your internal belief system. It's a physical thing that you can do, and they guide you through it, and you can find them on YouTube for free. You can find EFT tapping for insomnia, which I struggled with insomnia a lot in 2022, and I would do it and I wouldn't be able to sleep. It did not work. You can find it for all sorts of things. And so you can find it for free, so don't buy her program, but it did not work for me. And I tried it. You know, Catherine Zinkina also had like that as a bonus module in her course. I tried it for all sorts of things. I tried all the things. I tried breath work. I used to do these things like ritualistically, you know, breath work, meditation, EFT tapping, hypnosis. I would play the subliminals while I was working or while I was cooking or even reading, because it's just music, so it wouldn't distract me from reading. Anyway, none of it worked because it doesn't work. I do think EFT, I have heard that some therapists use it and it can be an effective modality. So if it has worked for you, I'm not impugning it. Like I said about like I said about meditation, it depends on the person. Meditation might be something that really relaxes you and helps you, and it has been scientifically proven. And maybe EFT helps you in your mental and emotional journey, but it's not going to change your vibration from broke to rich and just attract money to you. That's not going to happen. So I had to say something about that, because a lot of these manifestation girlies in their courses, they have a lot of things in them that make you feel like you're doing something. You do the course, you do homework, you do all these different modalities, and it really makes you feel like you're accomplishing something, but you're just doing nonsense. It's not accomplishing anything. And you feel superior because you're not watching TV, and you feel like you've done something to make yourself better so that you'll be richer, when actually you could have just, instead of spending $2,000 on this course, you could have just spent $200 on a session with a career coach and had them critique your CV and gone over interview techniques and talked about the best ways to network or the best ways to find that next job. Like, there are people whose job it is to help you in your career. Like, did you know that? And they're less expensive than these manifestation girlies. You could take all the time that I spent doing this crap, I could have been doing so many other things with my time. So it just makes you feel like you're accomplishing something and you're accomplishing nothing.
Next sort of like process, or also ingredient, I guess you could say a combination of both, Visualization. The reason it's so important is because you're literally building out neural pathways in your brain, and your brain cannot tell the difference between a real experience and an imagined experience. Like, it will literally think something that you visualize enough times is a memory, and that will factor into your self-concept and what you believe about your life and what.
Some of you mentioned this in my Manifestation Babe video. Manifestation Babe? I don't know why I said it like that. Manifestation Babe video, that people with actual mental health issues, this is very dangerous advice, to visualize so much and not differentiate between what's real and what's false. So like if you have something like bipolar, or I don't know if we still call it like paranoid schizophrenia. I don't know what the official DSM-5 term is these days, but we've all seen A Beautiful Mind, right? Like there are legitimately people who have had hallucinations, and they have to have, I saw this guy on TikTok who has hallucinations, and he has a dog. So when he sees someone in his apartment, he has a dog that can tell him whether or not it's, because the dog will like go up and sniff them or greet them. And it's like an official therapy dog, not just like any dog. But he literally did a TikTok where he showed his empty kitchen. He's like, I see a person. That is so scary. And there are people who have OCD who feel like if they don't knock on the wall 7 times, all of their family will die. And it is critical for them to know that what their brain is telling them is not true, and to go on medication or to get the appropriate help. It is not a good idea to believe that you can fantasize your way into that being real. It's dangerous advice. And then just for us regular people, I've done this, and I've tried so hard to make it feel real, but you can't. And this is an amazing loophole that they've created to the rule, because part of the whole concept of manifestation is that in order to be rich, you have to feel rich. And when you are not, when you are in true poverty, or you're just a regular paycheck to paycheck person, and it feels like there's not enough money at the end of the month, or there's too much month and not enough money or whatever, you can try your hardest to feel rich, but you're not going to, and your brain knows. Your brain knows, like we know, you know, as a person that you are not wealthy. And no matter what you do, you're not going to feel that. And they use that as a convenient loophole. It's like, well, you don't feel wealthy, so that's why you're not attracting money. Oh, these people in systemic poverty, they're just so far away from wealth, they can't imagine feeling wealthy. Well, that's why they can't manifest. I'm like, oh, how convenient that because of your rules, the rich stay rich and get richer, and the poor stay poor and get poorer. It couldn't possibly be economic policy and billionaires hoarding wealth. No, it's just mindset. And oh, it just happens to work out that if you feel rich, you'll get rich. Like, that's so dumb. Like, of course, if you're already rich, you're going to get richer. Like, this is how society is set up. Like, do you know how money works? Do you know that someone who is poor is going to have more expensive problems? They're going to get fees from having insufficient funds. They are going to have, health problems that maybe get more expensive because they don't feel like they don't have health insurance, so they can't get it checked when it's a small problem. So then instead of just like a filling, they need like a root canal, or they go to the emergency room, and that's really expensive. Like, they're not in the neighborhood with the expensive schools because property taxes fund schools. And so their school doesn't have as many resources. So they don't have the same resources as someone like probably her, Haley, who seems to have been born into, at least a good school. There's all these things that go into it, and you just are ignoring them for mindset. And I'm sorry, but you're kind of dumb. Like, I hate to insult people's intelligence, but if you think that this is true, have you gone outside? Do you know how the world works? Like, you are willfully ignorant. I'll say it that way. You're willfully ignorant. It's not that you're a stupid person or you're incapable of learning. It's that you're willfully ignorant, and you're ignoring anything that doesn't fit your narrative.
What can happen from here on out. And of course, there are limiting beliefs that can get in the way. And so you have to always be looking at your belief system. What do I believe is safe for me? And what do I believe is possible for me? Which visualization can factor into, but EFT tapping can also factor into. And then the waiting bit is just trusting in the divine timing and the thing that's completely out of your control. When you've done all you can, you hand it over to the universe and you trust, okay, this will come through when it's meant to. I'm going to keep my vibration high. I'm going to keep my expectation for best case scenario also high. And then it will come in.
Don't buy her program. So if you are baking a pie, you have a recipe. Baking is science. It is actually science. It's chemistry. If you are baking anything, you have a recipe. You know exactly how much of each ingredient to put in, and you know what those ingredients are. You know the temperature to set the oven at. You know how long to wait when you are baking. When you are manifesting, she's trying to make this analogy, everything is super vague because, yeah, you're going to put all these ingredients, but who knows how much? You know, maybe you need to do some EFT tapping. I don't know how much. Maybe you need to do some hypnosis to get those limiting beliefs out. I don't know how much. Maybe you need to do some visualization. You might need more than the next person or less. And then the baking time. Oh, it's the universe's divine timing. So who knows how long? If you bake your cookies too long, they get burnt. If you don't bake them long enough, they're raw and you can get salmonella. Like, this analogy doesn't work. And this is why you can't prove manifestation scientifically. I have a whole video on it. It is not scientific. It is not a proven process. It is, in my opinion, a proven scam at this point, because if you look at every manifestation teacher, every person who says they've manifested huge things in their life, they all just teach manifestation. Like, I suppose there could be like, you know, an actor or a singer or some celebrity that's like, oh yeah, I manifested this. But like, there's still no way to prove that. You know, it's a religion, and it's a religion built on scamming people. I'm sorry. She is my evil twin. She is, let me be, you know, the voice of reason to her crazy. We may look alike, but we do not think alike, and stay away from her. So I went to her website, and of course, she sells a manifestation course. So that is how she got the things on her vision board, by convincing people to pay her money to have the life that she has. And most of them will not. I wish that we had the same kind of data on manifestation teachers as we do on MLMs, because with MLMs, we know that 99% of people don't make money or lose money. We have that data because they have income disclosure statements and everything like that. But with these manifestation teachers, we don't have that data. And I don't even know how to go about that. I mean, I would love to. I have a very small YouTube channel, but if you have taken any of these courses, I would love to do a poll, or, you know, figure out, maybe when my channel grows, we will start doing what Hannah Alonso does with like your manifestation horror stories, because I bet that this has a 99% failure rate. I bet that the only people this has worked for are people like her, Catherine Zinkina, Amanda Francis, Gabby Bernstein. These are the people that are famous, and everyone else is just, we gave them our money and we got them there. Just like a downline is funding their upline's lifestyle, the people who bought your courses are funding your lifestyle, and they are not getting anything out of it. So anecdotally, I know from having taken Manifestation Babe Academy that there's probably about a 99% failure rate from the people in there. And people who did succeed, it's like that first part that we talked about. Maybe they just had the confidence to negotiate their salary, or the confidence to apply for a job or something like that. But a lot of them just try to do what the manifestation teacher does. Like, they try to teach manifestation as well. They try to sell courses or become a life coach or become a manifestation, a light worker, as they call themselves. Anyway, so that was Haley Hoffman Smith. And thank you so much for pointing her out to me. Do not take her course. Stick around. We've got more MLM girlies. We've got more manifestation girlies in the can. Do you guys want to see Dove? There she is. Hey, baby. Do you want to say hi? You want to say hi to everybody? Yeah. Are you just sleeping? Just sleeping in the middle of my bed? Yeah. You're so cute. Everybody loves you. So that is it from me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Kiss your pet on their fuzzy head for me. All right. Have a great day.